Jamie Buonaccorsi, welcome to the Real Wealth Podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining. Always love these podcasts when they're live, and I'm sitting across from the person that we're talking to. I think where I'd like to start is to get a bit of an idea of your journey into entrepreneurship. Obviously you're involved in multiple businesses, you've got some really cool plans for the future, so I'm keen to understand where it all started in terms of your journey to entrepreneurship.
So I had basically kind of humble beginnings. Everyone had lived in Stirling, kind of lower class, middle class background. My mum was a single mum, brought me up by herself. Dad was kind of non-existent for 20 years of my life. So my mum worked 3 jobs and then eventually opened up a chip shop with my stepdad, who she then met. So they opened up a chip shop together and ran that for pretty much up until I was 15. So yeah, was around someone who owned a business, and I think growing up watching her kind of go through that journey, building something up from nothing, a kind of local place that everyone in the community came to, just kind of inspired me without me even realising it.
I mean, there must have been something about the work ethic you seen from your mother and her, I guess, persistence, resilience, that, being a single mother working 3 jobs, just nothing was going to stop her moving forward, right?
Yeah, I think probably we share a lot of characteristics, probably I've just learned from her. We clash quite a lot, which is probably because we're so similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely I would say that's probably what's rubbed off on me, to be entrepreneurial. So yeah, always kind of, even as a young lad, was always kind of wanting money and ways to make money, and also for people to come to me for some water services. I always had businesses when I was younger, car valet and things like that, so I always wanted to be the guy that could provide a service to people and be known for owning that thing.
So always looking for a way to make money, and do you think that comes from this feeling of lack when you were younger and trying to avoid that situation happening again in your life?
Yeah, 100%. I think my mum had to work really hard to get what we had when we were younger, and I think when you grow up like that you kind of value things. Even though my mum, as she started to progress and our life kind of lifted and we got more things, she was always instilling to work hard. So I was working in the chip shop from 12 years old, working the till, sitting on the counter and doing the till. So like the girls who worked in the shop would serve the customers and then they'd bring the money over to me, and I was always counting the money, doing the till, doing the change, and then that progressed to then working in the back of the shop, prepping everything, and then eventually working on the shop when I was old enough. So it was just, I think she taught me from a young age, if you want anything in life you need to work hard. And from 13, 14 I was buying my own clothes with the money I made in the chip shop, and at the time all my friends, mums and dads, some of my friends, they were from kind of higher class families that I went to school with. They were always getting the newest things, whereas if I wanted something I kind of had to work for a couple of weeks and then get it. But as I grew older I now realise that's, my mum was instilling like this kind of, if you have to work hard and if you don't put in the effort it's not just going to come to you. And I think that's ingrained in me now.
I've always had a conflicted relationship with that, in that my approach to everything has always been to work hard, work my ass off. And I heard Nigel Farage was asked, what advice would you give to the younger generation? What is the key piece of advice you'd give? And his position is, no one that's ever achieved anything significant in life has not worked their ass off to get it. The slight contrast to that I have, and the Connor, who's my business partner, he said to me, there's this book that you have to read, it's really good, it's 50 Cent, and it's called Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. And his whole rhetoric was really less about the hustle smarter, it was more about the hustle harder. And he was talking about these obscene hours that he puts into everything that he does, how obsessive he is, and the sum total of that, okay, he's achieved some great things, there's no denying that, but he has ruined every relationship in his life, every single relationship, has no relationship with his kids, it was just such an extreme example. And for me, it's like, that's not the example that I would like, younger kids to be reading about, because there's a better way. Everybody needs to work hard, you need to be passionate about what you do, you need to put the hours in, but there's also this balance of like, be smart about where you direct it, and be considered with, the important things in life, because at the end of the day, when you strip back, all of the kind of businesses and wealth, and that's what the Real Wealth podcast is a lot about. Is, you know, at the end of the day, you know, if you don't have your health, you have nothing.
Yep.
If you don't have close relationships, and you know, a good relationship with your children and your partner, then at the end of the day, what have you got left?
Yeah.
You know, and that really becomes a big part of happiness and, you know, enjoyment in life, and it's that counterbalance of it. I've always felt like the most important thing is to work hard.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm just a little bit more kind of considered with that, of understanding the things that you should be working hard on, right?
I think it kind of lies in the middle. I think something I learned early on in business, which I think everyone makes that mistake, is don't be a busy fool. It's like that common thing people say to you, and then when you hear it, you don't realise it, and then you start to do it. And then eventually down the line, you're like, working really hard here. Really hard, I should be elevating to the next point, why am I not? I think we're living a day and age now where everyone's kind of, especially on Instagram and stuff like that, everything's like, oh, if you tell yourself you're going to achieve something, you believe it every day. Kind of like the secret kind of thing, manifestation. I believe in manifestation. I believe that if you believe you'll get something, you will, but you also have to work hard. But it's like you said, you have to funnel it where you're putting that energy. So it's like, there's loads of people out there that say they're going to do something, and they'll talk about it, and I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that, but then you do absolutely nothing towards a goal. And then there's people who work all the time but have no vision of where they're actually going, or don't see it or believe they're going to get there. They're just day to day doing what they need to do in their business. So I think it's like putting all your time and energy into something, but also realising, is that the right direction I'm putting the energy in, and being real enough with yourself to, it's kind of like you need to be in the middle in business. So you need to be resilient and never give up, even when it's negative and things aren't going your way. You need to keep trying. But then you also need to have that small part of you that's like, right, is this working in the direction I'm putting it? Do I need to reevaluate and change the direction? Work smarter, think about more high ticket as opposed to low ticket, rather than be busy all the time and make no money.
Rob Moore's got a book called Start Now, Get Perfect Later. He's got loads of books, I really like him, but it's Start Now, Get Perfect Later, and you know, he does this analogy of like your business being like going on a journey. You know, you stick it in the sat nav and you start. And the reality is, throughout the process of that journey, you may have some diversions, you may have things that don't quite go the way that the sat-nav thought it would, and you get redirected, or you may change the location entirely. But it's, you know, his principle is just start, get going, get an understanding of where you're heading, and start pushing that direction, and understand that the process of business will take you in different directions. You know, the strategy that you thought at the start that was going to be the game changer hasn't quite worked, but through that process you've iterated it and realised, actually, here's a better way of
and if you hadn't done that strategy, you wouldn't have known to then find out the next one.
Exactly. You know, it's the journey that takes you to the realisation of the things you need to do to get to where you want to go. And for me, like visualisation, meditation, those things are powerful insofar as they inspire a feeling within you, you know. So like the good thing with visualization is if you can get the emotions and feelings of achieving what it is that you want to achieve in your mind, then it will inspire you to take the very hard actions over a long period of time that it takes to get there.
I'll stick with it.
That isn't woo-woo, that's like proper
100%,
factual, you know, that's the tangible element of it. It's people that want the shortcut and that make it sound woo-woo because it's like, I can just think about something and it's going to happen. No, it goes back to this Tefal analogy. Thoughts lead to feelings, lead to actions, lead to results. If you don't have the regular thought where you're visualising, you have a very clear path of what you're trying to achieve, then that's not going to inspire the feelings and actions that take to get to the result. You know?
100%.
So it's all kind of quite interesting stuff, but I guess I want to get back to, you know, your story, and you know, we spoke about your mum and her building this business with her partner, and you seen life start to change. So you'd seen the results of all of the work that she'd put in
and what was coming back.
Exactly. And you followed suit effectively and said, right, okay, well, I'm going to start working for the things that I want to achieve in life, and it's going to take me there. So what happened then?
So basically, when I was younger, teenage years, kind of started small businesses, car valet and things like that. I actually had a really good car valet business up until I was about 19. Done it from my mum's house in the garage, had all the kit. I basically worked 3 jobs as well. So I worked in the chip shop, I worked in a call centre, and then I used to go late at night to, I don't know if you know Johnny Campbell, that owns TLC Detailing.
No.
He used to babysit me when I was a wee guy,
Oh,
so
right.
I texted him and said, listen, I like cars, I like working on cars, would I be able to come over a couple of hours a week, and basically just learn what you do for nothing.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, him and Andrew had the business together, so they used to get me over late at night after my work, would show me how to detail cars, let me use all the products on my own car, and I eventually got my own car, and then I would do valets on the weekend at home and use that, what I'd learned, to put it into action and make a bit of money. But I was working all the time, was making loads of money for my age, and did absolutely nothing with it, as you do at that age. Spent it all, and I was basically not seeing my friends or doing things that my friends were doing, so I felt kind of like the outcast at that age. Felt like I was a bit different to what everyone else was doing, going out every Friday, Saturday night to the food bar, getting drunk. I was working all the time, so it was just kind of like, maybe I should just fit in for a while, maybe I should do that, which is probably a thing I've carried my full life. It's almost this, what do I do? Do I be outrageous? Do I do what I want to do, or do I kind of fit into the mould, which is something I've battled with for years. So I then went into just full-time employment in a slaughterhouse, which is the most bizarre thing ever. It was the easy job to get into. It was money every
Because
Friday.
no one else wants to do it.
Well, exactly, yeah. And it was kind of like what people did, because when I was at school I had businesses and stuff. I did all right at school, I got hires and things like that, but I never really had that path that people had where they want to go to uni, they want to be a lawyer or a doctor. I just wanted to make money, and I wanted to have money, and that was it. That's what I wanted to do, and I didn't have an actual career that I wanted, or a passion that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So
it was more the process than the...
Yeah. So when I left school I was like, right, I've had a couple of businesses, I've done whatever, I don't really have skills that I could go to uni with, or like a certain thing that I want to do, so then just went into Scott Beef, which was an easy option for me. Money every Friday, £320 a week, which now when I think about it, I'd be anxiety ridden if I was making that a week in my life. But
you know, it's a different game when you're young, right? And you don't have the obligations.
So got into that, and basically that's kind of like a place where you're surrounded by guys who have done that all their days, a lot of kind of 50, 60-year-old guys who have been slaughtering all their lives. It's kind of got that mentality that's a bit, not, I don't want to be rude or say anything about, because there's a lot of great guys in there, but it's quite small man syndrome in there, quite volatile.
I can imagine it's a pretty depressing place to be. 100%. You know, I feel like places carry energy, and if you're literally in a slaughterhouse where people are like, you have to feel the energy in that room, right?
Oh, 100%. You walk in there, you feel the energy. You go into the changing room, there's a lot of guys in there who have worked there all the days. They've got a very kind of, I don't want to say it without sounding, they've got a very kind of simple life, if that makes sense. So they've got a routine in what they do, they don't really aspire for much more. And if you say anything that might be that you want to aspire to have nice things or do anything, you're almost shut down.
It's the crabs in a bucket syndrome, right?
Correct.
I mean, you know, they don't want any, you know, makes people uncomfortable that someone else is reaching, right?
100%. And I was always that guy, which then led to kind of debates, conversations about you're a dreamer, you're this, you're that. And then I think now that I'm older, I realise that they probably have a bit of insecurity in themselves, because they probably had dreams and things they wanted to do, but they've never done it. And then you kind of live with regret. And I could see that from these guys at the time, and it created conflict. And then you're also in a highly stressful environment, you're working on time scales, so it's a line, and basically the line's moving all the time. You make a mistake, you stop the line, and the guys who are on the bigger money, they get paid per animal. So if you stop the line or you do anything, the guys are roaring at you, shouting at you to get the line back on. There's no managers really present.
No.
You're on a line with guys who are maybe a wee bit more kind of rough around the edges. So it's a volatile environment, to say the least.
It doesn't paint a pretty picture, does it?
No, not at all.
Like, I mean, if ever there was going to be an incentive for getting out of a situation and growing a business and you know, the thing that makes me almost angry about those sort of situations and the fact that people hold each other back is that the system has convinced so many people that the road of entrepreneurship and owning a business and growing wealth is so unattainable. The safest option is to sit in a job that could fire you at any point, dispose of you at any point, leave you in a situation where you don't really have any discernible savings to be able to support yourself in the event that you lose that job,
Yep.
versus the opportunity to create not only wealth but generational wealth through a business and be very comfortable your entire life. How is that a safer option? Yet everybody has been brainwashed to think that's the scenario. You want job security. There is no job security now, especially in the modern age. The idea that someone would spend their entire working life in one place is almost laughable now for a lot of people.
The thing is, as well, is I think society puts, which I found especially nowadays with social media is horrendous for it, everyone's comparing their lives.
Yeah.
So it's like society puts so much pressure on you. Need to get a mortgage, you need to get on the property ladder, you need to settle down and get married at a young age, you need to have kids, you need to do this, you need to do that. And for a lot of people to have a full-time job gives you the stability to do that.
Yeah.
So rather than sitting going, I never know when the next amount of money is going to come in, I need to put in this much work to bring in money. Monday to Friday, getting paid every Friday, you know the wages are going in. It seems safe for a lot of people, and it kind of scares people to take a chance and actually be what they want to be.
Yeah.
The way I looked at it was, I can get a job at any point in time in my life. I could get a job at 45, 50. So if this all goes Pete Tom, I could apply for a job tomorrow and I could get it. And it's not that easy, it's hard to get a job, but you apply for enough jobs, you'll get a job. So for me, eventually, when I was there, I was like, you know what, I'm miserable, I'm stuck in here. I am losing who I am as a person and almost becoming one of the guys in here.
Yeah.
And then in 20 years' time, when a young guy comes in here, am I going to be behaving towards them the way I'm being behaved towards them just now? And for me, that was terrifying.
Yeah.
I was going home absolutely miserable. And my ex-partner at the time was watching me come home and was like, "What? You are not the person who I met. What was going on?" And it was just, and the problem was, I wasn't following what I thought was my journey, which I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
But I had this like undeniable feeling of feeling unrest. So that's what led to starting the business.
It's it's an uncomfortable reality, but you know, I guess one of the good things for you is you found that path, I guess, quite early. And you know, the fact that you had all these kind of side gigs at the start where you were making money and you could see the money coming in, like, I can exchange my time for money under my own terms, doing something that I want to do, you know, and make money. And you know, you had that evidence there to start with. You also had that, you know, comparatively with probably one of the most horrible working environments I could imagine, on balance. And you had it quite at a young age by the sounds of it. So, you know, for a lot of these guys that are, you know, 30s, 40s down, they're too far down the line. You know,
they're never too far down the line.
You're not, you know, and that's a fair point. Even when I said that, I was thinking to myself, okay, you can always make things, because I was in my 30s before I started my businesses. But the reality is it's much harder when you've got the mortgage, the kids, the family, to take a big risk. Laurie and I were fortunate that, you know, our business started when we were in our early 30s, but we both had really good jobs, so we'd been able to, you know, have some savings, have some cash, and we were also at kind of senior management levels. You know, I was supposed to be working in Texas at the time, but it was COVID, so we had, you know, essentially 2 years working from home where I could do my day job at nights because they were on Texas time, so it was kind of later in the day, and then during the day I could do our property business and growing it. And you know, I was fortunate that I had that dynamic. But the reality is, if you have a job where your job is to be in a location for 9 hours a day and do, you know, something that requires that physical presence, there's not a lot you can do to be able to have your side gig start it unless you're, you know, working 24 hours around the clock. So
if you've got a partner and kids as well, it's like you're not just sacrificing your kind of peace, or you're also asking the people around you to sacrifice that peace. And then that way you need to have a good dynamic there where you've got someone who's going to support you. They need to believe in you as much as you believe in what you're going to do. And then you just need to kind of be like, right, this is going to be hard, but you support me and it will pay off. But then you need to keep up your end of the bargain by working hard.
100%. And you know, you're not just, you get to a point where you're not just risking your own future, you're risking the entirety of your family's future, and that's where shit gets real, you know. For me, when we first started out, my best time to work was 4 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, Laurie and I were both always up quite early, so we'd be up at 4 working on our business. And before the kids were up, before, you know, the partners were up, So it gave you 3 or 4 hours in the morning where you could move things forward without sacrificing too much family time or work time. But that's not sustainable long term for a lot of people. So we were fortunate enough that sort of post-COVID we were able to transition and go full-time into the business. But we had the luxury of a couple of years of building before we had to give up the day job,
So it wasn't just boom, boom. Yeah, you had that time to kind of build up slowly.
Transition. Yeah. But alternatively, I don't know how you deal with it, because by that point in your 30s, we had houses, we had families, the obligations were pretty big. So it does get harder. It does get harder for sure, but the point is there's so many ways to make money now. There's so much opportunity. I honestly think one of the biggest challenges we have right now is the wealth of opportunity there is to make money. Just now, there's so many different routes you can go down.
It's easier than ever.
Yeah.
I'd say.
But also harder than ever to focus.
Yeah.
Because there's so much distraction. And no matter what direction you choose, whatever lights your fire.
Yep.
You need to focus on it, because what we see more than anything, especially because we're partly in the training industry, is shiny thing syndrome. People going from course to course, or like investment opportunity without really giving anything a proper shot.
And the thing is as well, a lot of these coaches now, you go on Instagram and every second video is a coach. I'm going to teach. I built this and I'm going to teach you exactly how to sign up to this every month. There's so many people like that now, and the thing you've got to look at it is, if they really did have successful businesses or did those things,
why would they be spending
heavy reliant on posting every day to make sure you sign up to the program?
Exactly.
There will be coaches out there that are legit, 100%. Everyone needs a mentor, but I feel like it's heavily saturated now, and people are so gullible to believe like, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this, I'll do that. All these quick fire ways of making money, without actually really kind of diving in deep into something and be like, no, I'm going to build this. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick at it for so long, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then I'll move on. Everyone kind of wants everything there.
The number one red flag for me with anything is the get rich quick thing, and it's terrible within the property training industry. The amount of guys that are out there saying, become financially free in 90 days and quit your job, and it's just ridiculous.
A guy I know who's really, really, really successful, he always says to me, it took me 17 years to become an overnight success. Yeah. He's like, no one sees it 17 years, everyone just sees when you've got it. And it is really that true. Like, don't get me wrong, you get exceptions, you get times where people just overnight star quality, but that's luck. They've been in the right place at the right time and put the work in, but there's luck there as well. You just need to be putting in the work and be focused enough that if you do get that opportunity, that you are lucky, you're ready to take it. Yeah. But no one gets rich in 90 days. It's absolute. I don't believe so. It's absolute nonsense.
No, it's hard fucking work, and that's message that I've always tried to get across in this podcast is, entrepreneurship is super hard. Like it's. I'm fortunate enough I've got 2 business partners, so I don't deal with any problem alone. But the reality is the business owner, when your business is quite systemised and working well, all you're ever going to deal with is the stuff that other people can't solve. Yeah. So the hardest, shittiest problem is what's going to land on your desk every day. But the difference is, if you get really good at solving those problems, that's where the success is. I said this the other day because we were reflecting on our growth this year and last year, and I'm like, as a threesome with my business partners, we're not exceptional. None of us. Connor just got awarded 40 under 40 award in London last week. Amazing. So it was a really big thing for him and for us as a company. Yeah. The reality is we're just very good at figuring shit out. Yeah. That's it. There's no great intelligence behind what we do. We're persistent, consistent, and when there's a problem, we don't shy away from it. Yeah. We sort it, and we're very good at figuring out solutions to shitty problems. And I think that really, when you boil it down, that's what entrepreneurship is.
I was speaking to my mate the other day there. One of my longest friends I've grew up with, he's seen me through every stage of my life. And now when I meet up with him, it's always talking about my business. He's over the moon for me, really happy, always asking me about it. And he said the other day there, how have you done all this? Like, you must be loving life now, you must be so happy. And I was like, what's it like with my business? And I said, owning a business is literally like being a fireman, putting out fires constantly. Yeah. Like, my day today, the minute I wake up in the morning, if I go on my phone, there's a problem, or there's something that needs addressed. People don't realise that with a business. They think you're just doing what you do, whatever your service is or your product you're selling, and that's it. There's so many other things that come with it, and the truth is you never ever master it.
No.
This is a thing I've learned as well. So when I first started, I mean, I started a window cleaning round. That was what I started from nothing. It was easy to start up.
Yeah.
Didn't need a lot of savings, just needed a van, equipment, blah 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 blah. And I went out and knocked on doors and got people to build up on this round. And it was low ticket, so I was doing loads of work for £6 a house. It was pennies. It was pennies. But it got me out the job I was in. And the thing I knew was if I could build a name and get people to know me, I could take it to where I wanted to go, which was the vision I had. But I needed to start there and I needed to be true to it and build it up. But I lost my train of thought, what I was going to say there. So I was building it up, £6. I totally forgot. I had a point that I totally forgot what I was going to say.
That's quite alright. You know, ultimately where we're going to now is, you know, I'm keen to understand a bit more about BuildClean and the business that you've built, and you know where you're going with that. So you went from the kind of window cleaning side of it to much more kind of external cleaning, roofs, windows, commercial buildings. Yeah. So
that was always a kind of plan to grow to that. So basically, I seen a kind of gap in the market because everyone local to me, especially just window cleaners, was unreliable, unprofessional, and didn't have a brand. So you didn't know who it was that was coming to your door. You had a phone number for the local window cleaner. It could be Joe Blogs turning up to your door, you didn't know who it was. So I thought, right, I know I can do that. It's pretty simple. My job is simple. The actual practicality of the job is very simple. You can teach a monkey to do it. Well, so I thought. Through trying to employ staff, it doesn't work like that. But most people could do the job. It's very simple and easy to do. Doing the job right, delivering reliability to the customer, and also building a relationship with the customer is what was missing. And I could see that through people I knew who did what I do, but not to the scale now that I'm on. So the goal was just to build up reliability, get people to know me, and then eventually bring in enough cash that I could grow it and build it into what it is now. So I always knew that the end goal was to be a building cleaning company. But I was never going to be able to do that because I needed 50 grand worth of equipment. Needed all these things, needed vans, and I would also, if I was to get to the level which I'm at now, I knew I would need staff, several staff to manage
working capital, vans, you know, it all mounts up, you know.
Exactly. And you can't, for me, like you said, you were probably had a good start in the sense of you had a job there, that you were able to do that in the meantime, but you're probably more tired because you were working all the time, 24 hours.
But I had a bit of capital.
You had a bit of capital there, so you had that to kind of build and get what you needed. I was making 320 quid a week. I was putting away like 40 quid a week, that's all I could save after paying my bills. And so I managed to save up a certain amount, and then I had handed in my notice for 2 weeks. And as soon as I handed in my notice, which is kind of a common thing in that place, you're then fair game to everyone to be
used and abused.
A horrible person to. So for the last 2 weeks, it was just sheer conflict.
That in itself is really interesting because guys are so miserable there that they're absolutely livid with someone leaving.
100%. You'll never, that'll not work. We'll see you again in 3 weeks' time. You'll be back. Nobody leaves here. Everybody's here. This is we all had ideas. We were always going to do something else. And to be fair, most of the guys that left would come back. They would stick a job, but they were going to other jobs, so that they didn't like.
It does seem like the end of the line for a lot of people. You know, this is where dreams go to die.
Yeah, and it was for me. There was a point in time where it was getting to that, and then I could see. I hate to be one of these people that say I'm materialistic, but I'm materialistic. I want nice things.
That's okay if it drives you.
Yeah, 100%. So I wanted nice cars, I wanted freedom, I wanted to be able to go on holiday wherever I wanted. I wanted to be able to have nice watches, nice clothes, nice cars. That was it for me, and I was never ever going to get it there. It wasn't that it was feeding my happiness, but I knew that's something I liked, and it was true to who I was. I liked having nice things. So I was set on leaving. It was, I've got to do this. So anyway, I handed in the 2 weeks notice. Within 7 days, it was so unbearable. They were trying to give me a disciplinary for writing up. So I basically wrote a list of all the things I needed for the business, and I was working through that. I was at the side of my job and I had a bit of paper tucked in next to the sink, and I was writing down what I'd bought, what I hadn't bought, and I was basically working out in my head what I need for next week when I'm going to start this. I'm meant to be doing my job, I shouldn't have had the pen there.
You're leaving anyway.
Exactly. So they pulled me in for a disciplinary, saying I was distracted on the job, I was putting other people's health at risk because they were working at a place where it was killing cattle. So yeah, got out. I was sitting in the disciplinary office and I thought, you know what, this is it, I'm not going to do this. I was only entitled to give them a week's notice. I've given them 2. I've done my notice effectively, I'm off. So I just said to the HR woman, listen, I'm just going to leave just now. Walked out, walked back onto the line, said to the gaffer, listen, you're going to need to get someone to fill in my job. I was doing 2 jobs at the time and I was only meant to be doing 1 job. So they were overworking me. So I said, you're going to need to get someone to do that job. And I've got someone that can do that. All kicked off. They were like, stay till lunchtime, you have like 20 minutes left till lunchtime, give us time to sort it. I said, fine, finished the job, went up to the canteen for lunch to kind of tell them I'm away, and it was just conflict, sheer utter conflict, people in my face, you're leaving us in the, we've not got staff members or whatever else. And then I basically just walked out the door, left, got in the car, drove off, and that was me. I knew I can't go back there. If I go back, I'll be going back with my tail between my legs. Not that I was bothered about what people thought, but I just knew I can't, for me personally, I could never go back there and sit in there and know that I had a chance to build something, anything. And I didn't do it, so I went, this is it, I'm giving it.
I mean, that must have been a massive driver. Like, you know, you talk about positive drivers in life and you talk about negative drivers in life, and that's a negative driver, but it can be, those negative things can be just as powerful. Because the reality is, and this is a human condition, it's much easier to remember the negatives than the positives.
I think the negatives shape you better.
Yeah.
Always. I say this about business as well. It's like, have you seen the video with Tom Hanks and all the actors? They're all sitting there, this too shall pass. Yeah. So that's like, I'm now this year starting to really work on that and just accept that people celebrate the positives all the time. The wins, they feel amazing when the wins are there, but they don't realise that it's the negatives that actually make the positives so perfect. And it's the negatives that you actually learn more from. So negative drivers are, I would 1000% prefer a negative driver to a positive one. Feels good when you get something good. If you do a sale, you make a bit of money, it feels good for about 20 minutes. But when you've gone through negative thing, then you get a good thing. You think to yourself, I've just been busting my pan out for 3 weeks, stressed as anything, and it's all just came to fruition. That feels better, a million times better. So I always say negative drivers push so much more.
It's, you know, I agree with you, and that's definitely the case for me as well. The challenge with it, or the hard thing about it, that I've found is it becomes difficult to enjoy the wins when you're just waiting on the next problem.
Yeah, true.
But you know, maybe that's part of success, because you know, if you're not very good at solving the problems, then it's really hard to get anywhere. And if you dwell too much on the successes, then it doesn't push you forward. So I think I'm okay with it, but I'm a bit resigned to the fact that, and especially out of the 3 of us, I'm not the celebrate big wins. You know, we closed on our biggest deal ever a couple of months ago. We bought 100 properties in Aberdeen, you know, 12 million worth of assets. We bought it for 7 million. It was a huge deal. We'd been working on it for 2 years. We finally closed on it. And honestly, by the time the 2-year process was over of fighting to keep this deal alive and get over the line, I was fucking done with it. I just wanted to move on to the next thing. And you know, my missus is saying to me, "He's not celebrating this deal and stuff." I'm like, no, we've got another deal that we're working on, so I'm just on to that. And that's a problem as well, right?
100%,
You know, because you just end up this problem-driven, you know.
I feel like that's one of the main characteristics of most entrepreneurs. I feel like most entrepreneurs probably, if a psychiatrist looked at them, are probably not fully wired up right. There's probably something, I know for me personally, this is something me and my partner were talking about yesterday, it's something I really need to work on, is nothing ever feels enough for me. So when I started the business, I was making £6 a house. I was like, I can't wait till I make 10 grand a month. That's a goal. Once I'm getting 10 grand a month coming into the business, I'll be happy. It'll be amazing. And that'll be it. I'll just stick with that. 10 grand a month, Jesus, I'll be able to do what I want with that. Then you get to a point where you start making over 10 grand a month, but then you realise to get that you need more expenses, more overheads, more staff. So then you've got the 10 grand a month, but you don't feel any better than what you did. You need more.
No, because you need more working capital, and this is also the thing, is like, you know, really to secure your business in the long term, you should have at least 3 months of overhead sitting in the bank. That's a lot of cash to be carrying, on top of all the working capital you need month to month to just keep the business rolling. And it's like, you know, just now we're at the point where we need to have 300 odd grand sitting in the bank because that's 3 months worth of overheads for us. That's a lot of money sitting there doing nothing. And then you want to grow, you want to take it to the next step. Well, you know, triple the amount of money you're going to need every month to take that step, because that's how you secure your business. You know, you can be making a lot of money, but then
when you look at it, you're not actually 100%. And the thing is as well, a lot of businesses, big businesses, have got massive overdrafts. They've got loads of kind of funding, they've got investors, they can do that to grow. If you're a smaller business like I was, I had no one helping me. I had no one giving me money. So if it didn't work out, I was like a bum, to be quite honest with you. So you have to build that up over time. Another mistake I made when I first started my business is not putting enough money into the business and just thinking, oh, right, that's covering that, but I'll take all that, that's fine, let's go and live the high life. But like you said, problems happen without you even knowing it. Just springs up in you. You need £5 there for that. That equipment's broke down, you need £5 for that. So it's crucial for business owners to have money in the bank all the time, cash flow and reserves there in case something goes wrong. Or you get some people as well are a bit kind of last minute with their accounting, tax bills and whatever else that they weren't expecting.
Yeah, you've got to manage your VAT. You know, it's too easy to see that money coming in every month, and you know, we've always kept a separate account for VAT. So anytime we invoice, we just take the full VAT amount, stick it in an account. And obviously we've got offsets, so it never is the amount of money that we put away. But if you don't do that,
don't pray.
You know, you want to be hit with a 70, 80 grand VAT bill at the end of the quarter that you don't have the money for. That's a scary place to be. So these are all skills you need to learn, right?
These are the things people don't see as well. They think, especially social media is the worst for this. I sound like I hate social media, but it's like people look at social media and go, oh, he's flying. He's absolutely flying, he's doing this, he's doing that. They don't see you sitting in the house at 1 o'clock in the morning having an absolute meltdown because you need to pull 10 grand out of your pocket tomorrow to sort someone's problem. They don't see these kind of things. It's like, you need to...
There's a secret reality of entrepreneurship and business owners, which is true for the majority of them, is there is not a huge amount of money in owning and running a business in terms of monthly income. And even if there is, even if you're making 100 grand a month out of your business, you're not going to take it because you're going to get taxed to the fucking hells. Like, as a business owner, you can be quite strategic about how you take money out to maybe get 50, 60 grand a year and pay very little tax, right? Anything more than that and you're paid 40% tax. So, like, you're very restricted, like, and you've worked so hard for that, and to take the money off the business that could allow it to grow and pay 40% tax feels like...
You've been robbed.
It feels like you're robbing yourself as an entrepreneur, because you're sacrificing massive opportunity for a little bit extra cash this month. So you never really see a lot of the cash, other than, you know, making sure you've got like a decent income, but like a normal income. And okay, we can maybe put a few nice expenses through the company or whatever that you can get away with tax deductibility on, but it's not that sexy when it comes to, you know, the day-to-day grind of running it. The big cash incentive for entrepreneurs come from selling the business further down the line. And to get it in that position takes a lot of fucking work, you know, because it has to be at a scale where it's interesting to someone. It has to be systemised and processed, that it's not just you know, making the bottom line. It has to be an organisation of people that are making the bottom line, that if you take you out of the mix, it still works. You know, that these are things that, and funnily enough, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that just, that is their strategy, is not, I'm going to build this business forever, it's going to be you know, a lifetime business I'm going to pass on to kids. It's like, no, I'm building this business to sell it and get the big cash event. Because if you can, you know, create a business, got a net profit of say £500,000 a year, you maybe get, depending on the industry, a 4 or 5 times multiplier on that. That's £2.5 million business, and then you only pay like, okay, they're changing the tax rules on this now, the business asset disposal relief, I think it's going up from 10 to 14, but like 14% tax next year, versus like 40% if you take an income. You know, you can see why that's really attractive to people, but that's when the big cash, you know, we've got a few people we work with that have, you know, that have had those big events where they've sold the business, and the other thing is usually it comes with a front end lump sum and then an earn out where you have to hit certain targets.
Well, my mate Nick Higgins from down south, he owns Phoenix. Well, he did own. He's just sold now, but he owned Phoenix Health and Safety. He would be a great guest for the podcast. Absolutely.
Excellent, cool.
Unbelievable story. So see if we can put you in touch with him.
That'd be awesome.
His story is unbelievable. Started his company, I think it was 15 to 20 years ago, with a £500 credit card. He just sold it the other day for 30 million. But
wow.
What you said, 30 million, but over the next 3 years has to hit certain things like that. But I spoke to him the other day. Congratulations, well done, amazing. He has sold the company. He's still a director in the company now, or working it within the company, but he still has plans to do so many other things.
Well, now he's got the capital.
Now he's got the capital to do it. But this is the thing, most business owners, and it probably isn't until you get to the point he's at, because speaking to him the other day, I kind of got that feel, and I knew that about him anyways. You kind of are on this journey with this goal that you think you've got in your head, and then you get to there, but then you realise that the whole thing about being an entrepreneur is just ingrained in you.
It's the journey. It's not the destination, and it's a sad realisation for every entrepreneur that comes to that point is like, see this target you're working toward, it doesn't really exist because, if you hit it then you'll create a new one and so the show goes on, but it's enjoying the journey of building something and figuring out the problems.
It's a highs and lows, figuring out who you become as a person. Who I am now, I'm 30 next week, I'm still relatively young, I feel, in business. I feel like I'm just getting started in business compared to where I was when I started it. But who you grow into as a human being, I mean, I've sat in rooms with clients who are huge commercial clients, sitting in there with project managers and all that, guys who are really, really intelligent, who I thought were super intelligent, older than me. How can I sit in a room with these guys and have this conversation? And 9 times out of 10 I was faking it till I made it. Walked in, bit of confidence on, speak to these guys. I knew I could provide the product, but did they see me as someone who's astute enough to do it, someone who's kind of got a bit about them, and you have all these conflicting things. I learned in those situations that I am worthy to do that, because I put myself in the situation. You learn constantly being a business owner who you are, you constantly grow and evolve. Things I wouldn't have done 10 years ago I would do no problem now.
Yeah.
Like even today, I've been asked to go on 3 podcasts, I've said no to all of them. Gemma asked me to come on this one. I said, right, okay, put myself out of my comfort zone and let's do it. Today's a growing thing for me as well. I would never have done this 2 years ago. So
that's surprising because you seem comfortable, well spoken. You're very clear on what your business direction is.
Yep.
Again, it's just the process of doing it, right? The first time I had to get on a stage to do a talk, I can remember the first time Laurie and I ran an event, and it was like, serious anxiety on the week running up to it. Is anybody going to want to actually listen to what we've got to say? We're going to be confident. Is the content good enough? All that sort of stuff. But by the 100th time you've done it, I genuinely don't even think about it until I step in the room. It's just but it's incredible because it's something that at the start gives you serious anxiety.
Imposter syndrome. That's the thing. It doesn't matter how much you grow as an individual. You still know who you are internally. Like I always say to my missus, it's like this little boy, I'm still that little boy inside. So even when I achieve these things, like if you had said to me when I was 17, I was going to be in the position I'm in now, I would have been like, no, I would love to, but no, I'm not going to be in that position. Didn't believe it within myself. Now, I've got the things that I never thought I would have. Now my goals are much higher. If someone came and said, you're going to have that in 10 years, I would do the exact same thing. I don't know.
You just readjust.
It's imposter syndrome completely, and you don't. It's that, and that's the thing. Like you're saying constantly, it's the journey, and this is what people forget all the time. Is enjoy. It's hard to do though when you're in it. It's hard to enjoy the journey, but you need to just take a wee step back. The thing for me, like achievements I get in business, when we got the huge contract for the juries in, that was a massive thing for me. And I totally blagged it when I went in. Like being honest, walked in, didn't think I was going to get it. Just thought I'm in here. I've been asked to come here for this business.
Did you have to submit a tender?
Yeah, so we had to do it. It was the first big commercial project we'd had. It was the first time I'd ever sat down and wrote RAMs and anything like that. All my work before that was domestic. You had to bid in what you would think. You had to bid in what your price would be. You had to show what you were able to bring, your insurances, everything like that. We were up against another company that was huge, they were a national company. But the project manager and the finance, the guy who controlled the budget, they both really liked me. So when I walked in, I think they just seen something, and the project manager texted me afterwards and said, you're going to go places. Now for me, he's not a business owner, he's not an entrepreneur, but he's a highly successful project manager, has worked with millions of businesses, and he texted me and said, listen,
He's
you've
seen
got
something in
about
you.
you.
Yeah.
So that for me was like, right, okay, maybe I can do this. And then we did the project, and I'm not going to lie, it was the most stressed I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
It was, everything was going wrong, but you're trying to kid on, it's not going wrong, just trying to get the job done.
What did it involve?
So basically it was a construction site, the renovation of the Jury's Inn Hotel, and they were basically needing non-abrasive cleaning done on the piling. So they'd excavated the site and they needed non-abrasive cleaning on the piling, but there was a very, very exact amount of pressure they could have on the piling without damaging it before they put the waterproofing on. They'd used us, there was so many restrictions to what access equipment you could have on site. So there was all these things that we had to basically navigate and provide results without kind of breaching any kind of obstacles. And to be honest with you, I had no clue. And I was sitting at night till like 1 o'clock in the morning figuring it out, and I'm like, oh, and then every 5 minutes I'm like, I'm just going to have to say, listen, we're not going to be able to get this over the line for you, we're going to use a different company for many different reasons. But I just thought, you know what, no, there's a reason it's kind of like that.
This guy's seen something in me. I don't want to let him down. I can do this.
And not without going into the kind of, I say it's manifestation is real, right? And the energy is real. Where you put your energy, 100% it'll come back. But without being hocus pocus, I felt like the universe has brought this opportunity to me. Whether it succeeds or fails, I need to see it through because it's been brought to me. That's how I felt at the time. So if it fell, it's fun, and we never delivered, it is what it is. I will manage that. But if I didn't do it and I had just pulled out and said, listen, we can't do it, I would have regretted it for the rest of my life. So we did it, smashed it out of the park, to everyone else's eyes, internally dying. And it was the first time I'd been paid 20 grand for a job that took 2 days. Which for me at the time was a lot of money compared to what I had to make.
You know, but also it sounds complex. You know, not your straightforward cleaning job.
No,
you know,
not
so.
at all.
But you know, there's some really interesting parts of that. One is the process of winning it, and the expectation, I think, for a lot of people that, you know, this is just big corporate stuff you're getting into where only the big corporates can win. But the reality is, for a lot of these guys, and we find this in our business when we're subcontracting refurb work on our properties and stuff, is that the local suppliers are usually the best option because they care. You know, reputation is important to them, and you know, if they don't deliver, they don't get paid, and that's important to them. Whereas the bigger corporations make a fucking mess of it. You know, it's less impactful to them financially than a smaller contractor. So you can see how you've got the opportunity to get your foot in the door, and when you do, that can be a massive opportunity and open up other doors. You know, so
I think what you're saying there as well with the big national companies, that's the problem I'm having now with scaling. This is like, so my biggest problem now as a business owner isn't the kind of run-of-the-mill business things that I was dealing with before the day-to-day. I don't really, I'm good at putting out fires now. You said that's kind of achievable for me. I don't really stress out as much with that. My problem now is this kind of, we've grown a good bit. We're still a kind of relatively small team, a couple vans, a couple guys, sub out some work to other exterior cleaners when we've got bigger projects on. My problem now is I'm at that point where I've got the programming, I've got exactly what we need to do, the system. Now it's just scaling that, and then multiplying it. The problem for me is, which a lot of business owners probably have, is I'm still very in my business in the sense of I feel like the clients need me. Even just me touching it, it has to be me that's touched it to make it what the client's like. And I've speaking to my partner this morning that I probably have an issue of micromanaging some things badly, which today was hard for me to hear, but we had a conversation this morning. But as a business owner, you need to be able to take criticism, especially when it's your own business. It's 100%. The hardest thing in the world. My mum's got an estate agency now, and she likes, we very rarely talk about business, because one, we clash anyway because we're similar, and two, I don't want to hear my mum telling me anything about my business. She doesn't want me to tell her anything about hers. The truth is though, when you're in your business and it's your baby, you can be blinded sometimes as to what you're doing wrong.
Absolutely.
And you need someone to tell you that. So this morning I had that moment where my partner says, you're really bad for micromanaging. And just, I've got better, but I need to work on that. And I think if I worked on it and I took that step back, I think the business would handle it. But it's your baby, you don't want to.
There's a time for it, you know, but then, you know, that's not scalable, as you say. So it's just understanding, you know, when things are in a position and you've got the people that are at the point where you can let go of the reins a little bit. But I definitely think within building a business, there's a time to be that micromanager. And in fact, that's some of the mistakes that we made in our early journey, was to have too many things on the go too early and delegate too much. Our building company is an example of that we shut down a couple of years ago now. It just didn't work. It wasn't our core skill set. Our core skill set is making deals. Running services, being in the office, structuring things. Our skills are not site-based, manual jobs that require a lot of focused project management. It just doesn't. It's just not where our strengths are, and it was a fucking disaster. Trying to get reliable guys, we couldn't. We had multiple sites up that. At any one point we've got probably 30 refurbs on the go, up and down Scotland. So it's not like you've got one big construction project. You've got 30 small ones going on, and guys going out to different locations every. You can't possibly be around them all, so you can't keep tabs on the guys. You have to trust them, and most of them are not trustworthy. They're just, the reality is how many tradesmen that are really good at what they do, that have built up a good reputation, want to go and work for a company on a fixed salary that is only going to make them a certain amount of money. They don't. No. They're going to be out there maximising their earnings, getting through work really quickly so they can make as much money as possible. As private subcontractors, the guys that you end up with that want to be employed as a joiner or electrician or painter are the guys that can't be arsed doing anything, that are going to mess about all day, and ultimately they just want their wage at the end of the week without doing much work for it.
It's not their business. This is the issue I have been through the staff members I've had. Ones I've still got, great, they're now, got a great team now. But past experiences I've had different people, and the problem I had was no one ever saw the business like I saw my business. And I found that very, very difficult to deal with. But I think the progression I've made now is realising that not everyone, it's a job to them, but you need to make them feel like they've grown this with you to a degree. So it's like all my team, they feel like they're on this journey with me, we're a family. So we help me get to the business to this position, we're going to elevate your life, we'll get to a higher position, and you can be teaching guys then, building up. But it's always making them feel like they're part of this journey with me. So I'll talk about my dreams with my staff, I'll talk about this is where I want to be, as opposed to just showing up and be like, doing this, do that, do this, do that, and then cracking up when they haven't done it.
But people can't get on board if they don't understand the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Laurie and I had a meeting last week with a guy called Mark Mills, who's essentially what he does is he consults with entrepreneurs about how to improve their business and eventually how to sell their business. So there's one of our clients he's consulting with just now. That's where we got the introduction. Just interested to meet the guy and speak to him, and he's got a book that's really good as well. And his analogy, I think, was farm, which is people come to work and there's a level of priority, and money is actually last. So the farm analogy was fun, achievement, recognition and money.
Okay.
So if they're getting all the other three, money will be less significant to them. But when you get to this point where all you're having is money discussions all the time, it means that those other three factors aren't working. They're not getting any achievement, they're not having fun, they're not enjoying the working environment, and there's no ultimate opportunity for them. So that's where kind of direction, clear vision from the founder of where they're trying to take the business and what the opportunities are for everybody. We just took a kind of step back on that last week, and we spent a bit of time with certainly the sales team upstairs talking about what the objectives are for the business in terms of growing the auction side of the business, as well as some of the off-market deal stuff that we're doing. So we're trying to give them a bit of direction. We've just moved down to England now. We've opened our auction house in the East Midlands. So this is a longer term objective. But if you've not got everybody, but like we have so many conversations every day in our office, the three of us, about strategy and where we're taking the business. If you're not communicating it, it's like everybody's in the dark.
100%. I think what you're saying as well, like every once in a while coming back and looking at the objectives, looking at the view, that some of the business owners don't do enough. It's like every once in a while my missus will say to me, right, what's the plan for next year? What's the plan 5 years time? What's the plan? And I need that sometimes to remember, because I've got the vision in my head, but I don't speak it out, and I don't look back at it and be like, right, wait now, the stuff I'm doing day in, day out here, is it really pushing towards these goals I had in my head? Or do I have that vision, but I'm just putting out fires and doing everything, you know what I mean? So you need to kind of come back and look at it.
So I've never been a big fan of like long-term plans, like
Right.
5-year plans. Like I like a really solid 12-month business plan of, right, this is what we're doing, these are the areas we're focusing on, this is what we're going to grow, etc. And then beyond that is like, okay, let's look for a direction and a vision, but
Yep.
like not getting into specifics, because guarantee in a year's time it's
All changed.
But it's like the general direction and vision has to be kind of clear, and you know, it also has to be something that you're quite adaptive to when you see things aren't working.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a good point. What is the objective for the next 12 months?
And be real with yourself. Are you hitting it? Are you in the right direction going towards that? Which is a lot of people aren't willing to do.
So for BuildClean, what does that look like?
Well, the goal is to scale it. How I'm going to scale it has changed now, and the direction that we're going in is still the same. However, there's more that I could add to BuildClean, which I didn't realise, which is now, not that I'm bringing in other stuff and I'm jumping into other pies, it's all within the direction, but I just didn't think I'd be able to do those things right now. And that wasn't like what you said, you shouldn't have 5 year, that was a 5-year goal. I wasn't looking at. So we're going down an educational route, which will be training, things like that, all within the same company. And then we also have, I don't want to say too much on it because I've got a competitor really close to me watching everything I'm doing. But yeah, another route down there which is within it, and those will all be achievable within the next year.
Yep. And this is an interesting quandary, because a lot of people just assume, you know, you've got a business that does these things.
Yep.
You know, they're talking about scaling, so that just means doing more of what you do. But the reality is, within that, there's a lot of different directions you can go to. Do you go in terms of organic growth? Are you trying to get more customers? Or are you going to go, you know, inorganic, where you're going to buy another company and consolidate that? You know, there's a company called Biffy that does that really well, right?
Yeah.
So you probably see the vans kicking about. I think there's a few of the businesses in this estate here that have got Biffy as they're just a waste contractor. They come, they give you bins, they come and collect your waste and all that. But they have been buying up every other company.
Great industry, by the way.
That does it. Well, again, it's the least sexy industry in the world, but there's money to be made in these industries that people don't want to
You usually find those are the industries that you can make a lot of money in.
Yeah.
And the good thing is the competition's, well, different now. That industry's growing now. More people are jumping into it, so the competition's rising. But if you're quick enough to realise an industry that's not highly competitive, which I feel like I was quite lucky at the time, where I'm based anyway. Yeah. Nationally down south, I've got a few guys that are kind of, but I'm on good terms with them all, and we all speak and work together, kind of thing, which is good.
Yeah.
But finding that, which is a great thing, if you're looking to start a business, by the way, a lot of people go, what am I passionate about? Which is good, and passion is great, but you can be really passionate about something and be really shit at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look at what your skills are, look at what the easiest market to get into is, relatively low competition, or if there is high competition, you're good at standing out.
Yep.
You know what to do, you know how you're going to stand out, you've got that vision, and then go that way, which is some kind of waste disposal. It's a huge industry that people don't realise you can get into, or they don't want to get into, and there's a lot of money in it.
And you know, there's a lot of small companies that, you know, but like I say, Biffy have been really good at consolidating and, you know, just buying up these small companies that probably doesn't cost them a huge amount of money, or there's an earnout, or, you know, there's maybe a share transfer. There's 100 different ways you can structure an acquisition. And again, it's another assumption of people that aren't within the business community is, like, you know, if I'm going to go and buy another company, I'm going to have to put out a huge amount of money. Not the case. You know, you can have earnouts, you can structure it in a way where they get shares in your business, or there's 100 different ways you can do it, which, you know, everybody benefits when you can consolidate in an attractive way. But the point I was getting to was there's a million different directions you can take the idea of scale in, you know, inorganic, organic, adding different services, trying to grow specific, maybe part of your business is very scalable, but the other services aren't. You know, there are 100 different ways you could cut it in terms of growth, right?
1000%, yeah. Even what I was saying there about services as well. Window cleaning for me, very early on, realised that was never going to get me where I wanted to be. So I had to drop it. Simple as that. was a hard thing to do at the time because it was regular income. So I'd already built the business and was bringing in the other services. Those were the big money earners. But that was money regularly, monthly, that was bringing in cash flow income to the business. But it was more of a headache than it was worth.
Yeah.
So realising that some services, although you think that you need it, you really don't. And the bigger ones, as I always say this all the time, high ticket for me has been the winner.
Yeah.
Always. Different people believe in different things. People believe in volume, low ticket.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of these kind of subscription based businesses or these kind of coaches and stuff. Low ticket number but high volume works well. For me, especially if you're in a service based business, if you've got a service that is really valuable and you a really good product or service that you can sell and it's high ticket, I would go with that every day of the week.
100%. We're exactly in that ballpark because we have, you know, if you look at the property market, you've got estate agents doing property transactions. Property transactions are a pain in the ass. They take ages. You know, there's always issues. When you go into the open market and you've got a chain, it's a fucking nightmare because if one thing falls down, the whole thing falls down. And what the estate agents get at the end of it, and I know your mum's an estate agent, but you know, they get like 1% of the transaction, 2% of the transaction, you know, a fairly small fees. Our business with the auction is like our average fee on a property sales £5,000, and we get it up front. And if the transaction doesn't go through for whatever reason, we're paid. Like there's no comeback on it. That's the beauty of auction. You know, and that for us is just an attractive way to get in the property and get deals done. And we're dealing with fairly low value properties, discounted. So that's why people want to come to auction. But you know, at the end of the day, it's just higher ticket, more profitable, and more certain. You know, you're not waiting 2-3 months to get paid. So I guess what you know. So direction is scale. You've got a few things that you're looking to add to the business. Have you got an end objective in mind in terms of, you know, you're looking at business sale? Are you looking at just continuing to
sell the
grow?
business 1,000%. Yeah, that's the goal, is to sell the business.
Have you got a figure in mind, like in terms of where you're trying to grow it to make it you know, attractive to sell?
I wouldn't say at the moment because I'd say a number and I think that would, at the time, that wouldn't be enough. I know who I am as a human being. So I think more for me, the time will be when I'm ready to let go of that journey, if that makes sense. So it's not really a value thing to me. When I first started the business, everything was money. Constantly, like, I always had these targets: once I hit this will feel better. I've now came to the conclusion I know who I am as a human being, or I like to think I know myself pretty well. There will never be enough money for me. I'm very attached to that, so I think it will be when the journey's run its course and I know, you know what, this is a good time. Sell it on. And also I know that it's going to someone who's going to, I'd like to sell to someone who's going to love the business and like be passionate about it in the industry, and who's going to provide a service to. For me, my business is based on the value I bring to my customers. It's not actually the service itself, I just love the clients. It was always about the client's reaction. Through time it's became that. At the start it was money, now it's a client's reaction. My clients, without sounding arrogant or whatever, all my clients love me and love the care they get with my business and my company. With tradespeople especially, not that I'm banging on about tradies or anything like that, because I know lots of great tradesmen, really good. There's loads of good tradesmen who are really good at their trade and they're not good at running a business. You need, if you're going to be successful with a successful trades business, you need to be able to do both sides. And you need to be able to give the number one thing is reliability. So like, for me, I always answer every single inquiry. Always in touch with my clients, always respond to clients. And also, when I give a client a price or a quotation and they don't take it right away, always thank the client for inquiring with you. This is something that people don't do. So I'll send you a price, you don't want to, close the message, won't reply. For me, that is like an absolute no-no, because that might not be.
It's still an opportunity as well, you know. 2
months later, they might have the budget there for you and thought, you know what, that guy was great. He was really nice throughout the process, and he was nice.
A lot of people are reluctant to get a quote because they feel the sense of obligation that, like, an example of this is, like, I bought a house last year, we've fully renovated it, we've like ripped the whole thing out and redone it and all that, and I've still got some of the external stuff to sort out, and you know, I was thinking about getting a quote to get the roof cleaned, and I just looked at an ad on Facebook for it, and then all of a sudden I'm getting contacted, and I'm like, I've not decided if I'm doing this yet, so I'm not even going to respond to this guy to let him give me a quote, because I feel like if I get a quote for him, I'm then obligated to go and do it.
I think there's an element as well. I think sales is very hard. I wouldn't class myself as a salesman, but my missus would tell me I'm a phenomenal salesman.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't class me. There's a kind of thing with sales, isn't it? You don't want to be too pushy. You don't want to badger people, but then you also don't want to be uninterested. Well,
you've got to follow up and follow through, as a business, because you can't let any opportunity pass you by without feeling like a pushy salesman or desperate for the work.
We always say to our clients when they first thing up for a quote, right off the bat, hi there, thank you for showing an interest in the company. You're telling them right away it's just an interest. You've actually said, I know this is just interest in the company. Then follow out with a quote, what it involves, the product, the value of it, everything like that. And then again, say thanks for inquiring.
Yeah.
And then when they respond, say them again, thanks for inquiring, and then don't push it there. If they say, it's a little bit out of my budget just now, that's absolutely fine, thanks for inquiring, and then 6 months time, touch base again. Hi there, are you still maybe interested in that? Let's see if we can work on the budget with you. Is there something we can offer you that's maybe a wee bit lower in price, but suits what you're looking to get done? Things like that, like, you're running, I always feel like people buy you, and this is something my mum taught me from a young age. Our chip shop was the busiest chip shop at the time because people came to see my mum in Moreno, my stepdad. Yeah. You come in, you get an experience, the family was there, I'm working behind the till, the food's really good, but the people that you come in for an experience, and I feel like it's like that with any business, it's a huge part of it. It's like if I go and buy a car, I bought my Merc off a guy last year, the reason I bought the car was because of him. Yeah. I loved the car, but I liked him, wasn't too pushy, he approached me in the level I would approach someone, and I just felt like me and him had a friendship, a relationship right off the bat. So I'm going to get my car from him. It could have broke down on the motorway on the way home, but I liked him.
Yeah, and you would have, you felt the trust that if that happened, he'd sort it for you.
1,000%. He would have sorted it. I could have phoned him and said, listen, this is Sam, and he would have broke his back to sort it. And I think that for people is, I think if you nail that, the price can be worked up. Obviously, if it's out of someone's budget completely, then they're not going to get it. But I think people can have an idea of what they're willing to spend and then what they could spend. It's what you provide.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better. The last question I always ask on the Real Wealth podcast is, what does real wealth mean to you?
Okay. I feel like this has changed through time. Number one would be freedom to do what I want when I want, without someone telling me no or money restricting me from doing so. Yeah. And the second one for me, which was really important, is to be in a suitable enough position that someone can rely on me or depend on me when times are hard. That for me was the biggest thing driving me. When I was younger, I relied so heavily on my mum, and she made sure she was in a position I could rely on her. And I respect her more than anything in the world, and even to this day when something's wrong, I'm a mummy's boy. I want to speak to my mum and sort it. My dad wasn't really in my life, I couldn't depend on him, and I feel like men need that masculine dependency sometimes.
It breaks my heart, the thought that I would not be that person for my kids. I'm always going to be the one that if they need anything, they can go to their dad and get it.
100%, and I feel like so it is money oriented, but the truth of the matter is you need money in life. What amount of money you need is different, what wealth degree is different to each person. But for me, wealth has always been in a financially suitable enough position that if someone needed me in my family or some kids, anyone needed me and there was a big problem, I'm not even going to, don't even need to worry, I'm going to be able to sort that for you. That's wealth for me.
Awesome. Jamie, I feel like we could have spoke for a lot longer.
Sorry, I'm chat about
I enjoy it. I enjoyed the conversation, and I'm just conscious of your time.
That's fine. So
I want to say big thanks. If anybody wants to check out more about you, where can we find you?
So website is www.buildcleanuk.co.uk. Social media, Instagram, Facebook, just type in BuildClean UK, and my personal socials are Jamie Buonaccorsi.
Awesome, I'm really excited to see where things go with the business, and at the end of the day, if you ever want to invest in property, we're always here to help.
My man, I speak to, don't worry, it'll be soon, it'll be very soon.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.